Hey everyone, Just Nintendo here once again. I hope you're all having a great Christmas break still. I know I am. I wasn't planning on making a video during my break, but here we are. On Christmas, I received a Game Boy. I asked for a Game Boy and I got it, and with it, I got Donkey Kong 94. Now, I have gotten a lot of comments on my videos asking me to talk about Donkey Kong 94, but I haven't been able to because I had never played it. I didn't know really what it was. I knew it came out the same year as DonkeyKongCountry, which is kind of ironic. But I never played it. It looked kind of similar to the OG Donkey Kong arcade game, but I had never played it. So I asked for it and I got it for Christmas, and the past 2 or 3 days I have been not obsessing over it, but I've been playing a lot of it. And I finally beat it this morning, and I'm very excited and happy that I can finally talk about this game. And I finally see what so many people see in this game, because it is truly a hidden gem. Now, before I get into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to join the Just Nintendo Society Discord server. Link will be in the description as well as the pinned comment in the comment section. Now, let's talk about Donkey Kong 94. So, there are a lot of things to think about when you think about Nintendo's history, right? You think of Mario, you think of Legend of Zelda, you think of Metroid, even Kirby. But there are some games for sure that fall through the cracks. Some games that really might only be remembered by dedicated fans or overlooked entirely, which is exactly what happened with me. I had never played this game. And one title like that is Donkey Kong 94. It's a game that released in, you guessed it, 1994. And it wasn't just a port or a nostalgia piece either, as I originally thought it was. It's a great puzzle platformer that pushed the limits of what portable gaming could accomplish. And yet, despite its ingenuity, it remains underappreciated in my opinion. So I wanted to give this game its fair due, its due diligence, and talk about it in its own individual video. What really surprised me about Donkey Kong 94 is how it began. It begins with Mario ascending the construction site, avoiding barrels to rescue Pauline, just like the original Donkey Kong game did. So, I gotta be honest, at the beginning I was a little discouraged, because that's what I thought this game was. I thought it was just another, get to the top. Like, I thought it was just rehashing the original Donkey Kong, and I think Donkey Kong 2. But, as soon as I started to think that I knew what was coming, the game transformed in the best way possible. The homage to the original arcade game only lasted a few levels before it expanded into something much greater. With almost 100 levels that blend platforming with intricate puzzles, Donkey Kong 94 quickly established itself as far more than just a remake. And something that I wanted to point out was that the only game like this, besides the original Donkey Kong obviously, that I'd played was Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Switch. This game is very similar to Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Switch, and I loved that. It's got the hammers, it's got the structure of it, the key to open the door. It just feels very similar, but in a great way, because I really, really liked Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Each stage in the game presents a very unique challenge, but the goal is simple. Guide Mario to the key, use it to open the door to the next level. But achieving that often requires creative problem solving. The game's environments are packed with obstacles and enemies and tools and things you have to learn to use, and it forces you to think critically about how to proceed. It's a design philosophy that ensures that every level feels very different and on very different levels of difficulty. One of the most surprising things about Donkey Kong 94 to me is Mario himself. Yes, he looks like the familiar plumber from the earlier games that we knew and loved, but his abilities in this game are very different. For the first time, Mario can't jump 15 feet in the air. He feels a lot more grounded. Mario also has a more dynamic moveset, including backflips, handstands, and long jumps. And these mechanics, you have to get used to them very quickly, and they allow for very precise platforming and clever solutions to puzzles, marking a very significant evolution in this design. And the moves themselves were not just used as gimmicks or fun little things to perform in the levels. You had to use them to proceed. They were fundamental to the game's challenge. For instance, a handstand can deflect falling objects, just like he can in Mario vs. Donkey Kong, while a backflip can reach platforms that would otherwise be out of reach from a regular jump. The way that the game introduces these abilities is great. It's not overbearing and it's not hand-holding either. It starts with simple scenarios and gradually integrates more and more of these new ideas into more complex puzzles, and by the end, players feel a deep sense of accomplishment, having mastered an array of different tools and quote-unquote weapons in their arsenal. But what really sets Donkey Kong 94 apart is its variety. Each new world introduces new mechanics and obstacles that builds on what came before. Early levels might rely heavily on basic platforming as they do, but later stages feature elements like conveyor belts, disappearing platforms, and even enemies that need to be manipulated to solve puzzles. The constant evolution and introduction of new ideas ensures that the game will always stay fresh from the start to the finish, and the structure also supports experimentation. The levels are short and often open-ended, encouraging players to try out various different approaches. Failed attempts never feel super punishing either, because quick restarts keep the momentum going. It's not like in games like the Donkey Kong Country trilogy where you have to go back to the start of the world if you die too many times. The design encourages curiosity to kind of step out of your comfort zone a little bit and look at a different way to complete each level, and it makes each success feel very earned. Considering the hardware limitation at the time of the Game Boy, Donkey Kong 94 is nothing short of impressive. The visuals are clean, they're detailed. I played it, I have the original Game Boy, I have the black and white, and so that's the gameplay that I'm showing. But the environments still feel very alive, despite the very limited audio and color palette and things like that. Characters are animated with surprising fluidity, from Mario's athletic flips to Donkey Kong's expressive tantrums. The visual variety across all the different worlds really adds to the sense of adventure. The jungles, the icy landscapes, the industrial settings, they all feel distinct, they all introduce new mechanics, and it all works out so well. The sound design too also complements the gameplay. The music shifts between lighthearted tunes and more urgent themes as you continue, creating an atmosphere that matches the on-screen action that you're experiencing. Even the sound effects, like the satisfying thud of a key landing or the chirping of enemies, contributes heavily to the immersive experience. And so, why did it kind of fade away? Despite Donkey Kong 94's quality, it never achieved the iconic status of other Nintendo games. Obviously, released in 94, it faced stiff competition from other Game Boy hits and the looming transition of more powerful hardware. Many players likely dismissed it as a simple arcade port, unaware of its depth. Maybe someone only played the opening 1 or 2 levels, and they saw that it was just a port of the original Donkey Kong game, and they gave up. But that's not the case. The game also influenced future titles like Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And that game got, as far as I can tell, much more praise, and people were a lot more vocal about it. But this game never received a true sequel, leaving it kind of isolated in Nintendo's catalog. Another factor is the unfortunate timing. By 1994, gaming was shifting towards 3D graphics and more cinematic experiences. Obviously, 1994 is the release date of Donkey Kong Country, and a 2D platformer, even one as innovative as Donkey Kong 94, may have seemed old-fashioned to some players, I guess. And as a result, it became one of those games that kind of slipped through the cracks. Beloved, obviously, by a lot of people, including myself now, but unknown to a lot of people. Though Donkey Kong 94 might not be widely remembered, its impact can still be felt. The expanded moveset introduced here would go on to influence Super Mario 64, redefining how Mario controlled in 3D and then back in 2D. The game's blend of platforming and puzzles laid the groundwork for the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which carried its spirit forward on later handheld systems, and then obviously later on Nintendo Switch. In recent years, retro gaming enthusiasts and preservationists have begun to shine a light on hidden gems like Donkey Kong 94. Modern platforms that offer access to older games like Nintendo Switch Online service make it easier for new players to discover titles that they missed like this game. But obviously, this game still isn't added to Nintendo Switch Online, which is so frustrating and bizarre to me, but hopefully it gets added soon and more people are able to play and discover this game for themselves. So, obviously, yes, Donkey Kong 94 is a reimagining of an arcade classic, but it's so much more than that. It's a showcase of creative level design, tight mechanics, great graphics for the time, and forward-thinking ideas. The game helps to remind us of how even the simplest concepts can be transformed into a 100+ extraordinary game when you have the right vision. For those who take the time to revisit or discover it like I did, Donkey Kong 94 offers an experience that remains as engaging today as it was 3 decades ago at this point. It's time to give this forgotten masterpiece the recognition that it truly deserves.